What if I just ask you to find the sixth term of 3x plus 2 to the 8th power? No, I do not want you to write out all those terms. I want you to see what can we do just to get the sixth term. Well, I'm going to show you. First of all, since it's the power, keep in mind the term has a coefficient and then two things, and we have some powers. So I need to fill in all those blanks. Alright, since it's to the 8th power, I know n is 8. Now the sixth term. Well, let's think about that. I know I'm going to have a 3x here and I'm going to have a 2 here, but what's the sixth term? If I go back to this and I just kind of start doing the a's, but let's do the b's, b0, b1, b2, 3, 4, and so forth. Well, let's just count. This is the first one, this is the second one, this is the third, fourth, fifth. So what's that relationship? Hopefully you'll see the power is 1 less than the term, but that's the power on b, right? So we want 1 less goes here, so that's 5. And that matches there. Alright, so how do we get the power now here? Well, we notice those powers have to add up to that, so I need a 3. So let's just go over this again. If you are looking for the sixth term, you want 1 less than that, and that goes the power on the b term, that second term in the binomial. That's also that number right here. And then you need to know that these have to add up to your initial power. So I'm going to take my calculator. So I need to punch in 8 and then math, go to probability, option 3, so that's 8 taken 5 at a time. So that number is 56. So I need 56, 3x to the third power, and 2 to the fifth power. So let's see, 3 to the third is 27, and 2 to the fifth is 32. So yes, I'm going to use a calculator to punch all that in. Wow, that's a big number. And that would be the sixth term of that binomial. Let's try another one. Okay, x plus x squared to the 12th power, and I want the seventh term. So remember, we want that nj, we want our a, and we want our b, and we need those powers. Okay, so let's start out with the easy. I want it to the 12th power, so 12 goes there. The seventh term, take 1 less, which would be 6. 6 goes there, and 6 goes here. And since I need to add up to 12, that also is 6. Now what goes in those parentheses? This is our A, this is our B. Right, so now the only numbers I need are 12, choose 6, so that's 924, and here that's x to the 6th, and that's x to the 12th. So remember, we keep the base and add those exponents. And that would be the seventh term. Alright, so let's see what we have. Okay, 10 goes here. Eighth term, 1 less is 7. That goes here and here. Right, now what goes that power? I need to add up to 10, so that's to the third. This is our A, this is our B. Our A is K, and our B is negative square root of 2. So I need to know what 10 choose 7 is. Okay, so that's 120. That's K cubed. Now, since I have a negative to an odd power, I know my answer is going to be negative, so I'm just going to put it out there. But what is the square root of 2 to the 7th power? Well, if you recall, the square root of 2 means 2 to the half power. So now I have 2 to the 7 halves, or 2, and it goes in there 3 with 1 left over. Well, 2 cubed is 8, and that 1 left over would be the square root of 2. So 120 times 8 is going to be negative 960 square root of 2 k cubed. I know those square roots are kind of odd, but it's not so bad. Now, let's kind of turn it around, and I ask you these kind of questions. I'm not asking you what term. I want to say after you've got it all done, I want the term that has y cubed in it. Well, so I start writing down my parentheses. So I know it's to the 12th power, so 12 goes here. And I know square root of 2, and I know y goes there, because that's my a, that's my b. Now what can I do to get a y cubed? Well, the 3's got to go there. That's going to be y cubed. And if 3 goes there, remember, that same number goes there. And then if I need to add up to 12, well, 3 plus 9 is 12. And then I just do that calculation. All right, so I'm going to have 220, and then that square root of 2 to the 9th power is this, and then I have y cubed. So, and if you're not getting that square root of 2, you could write it out 9 times. Okay, that makes 2, that makes 2, that's 2, that's 2. Multiply all that together, that's where the 16 comes from, and you have 1 left over. Now this one's a little bit trickier. Find the term containing no x in that expression. Well, 8x and you have a 2x, but notice the 2x is on the bottom, so at some point the x's are going to cancel. So when it says no x, that means x to the 0 power. Well, let's just start writing down what we may or may not know. Okay, so I know that's 8, that goes there. That's 8x because that's our a, that's 1 over 2x because that's my b. So notice I've got an 8x over 1 and a 1 over 2x on the bottom. And those exponents have to add up to 8. So what could be the same? Well, if this was to the 4th power and that's to the 4th power, wouldn't they cancel? That's exactly right. So I need to do this to the 4th power, this to the 4th power, which means the 4 goes underneath there. And again, if you were to multiply all that out, you're going to get 70 times 4096 x to the 4th over, well, 1 over 16 x to the 4th. So that's going to be division there. The x's would cancel out, and that's the term containing no x's. This is a little bit more of a challenge. X squared. I want to be left with x squared. So keep in mind that's going to be on top. That's going to be on bottom, so some things are going to cancel out. So not equals, but we're going to start out with our coefficient and then our a and b. So I know my a is here, my b is here, and I need an 8. So now I've got to start playing with, well, what's going to happen? What are all your possibilities? Well, your possibilities are that this could be an 8 and that could be 0. Well, what would that give you? The square root of x to the 8th power is going to be x to the 4th divided by no x's. Well, that's going to be x to the 4th, so that won't work. What about 7 and 1? Well, that's going to be the square root of x to the 7th power over the square root of x to the 1st, so I could keep my base and subtract the exponents, and that would be x cubed. Well, that doesn't work. What about 6 and 2? So we'd have the square root of x to the 6th power over the square root of x to the 2nd. Again, keep the base, subtract the exponents. So those are the powers that I need. So let me kind of just erase all this mess. So I think we said 6 and 2, and if that's a 2, the 2 goes there. So again, just using my calculator, 8 choose 2, what would that be? That would be 28, and then 3 squared right here is 9, and then I know because of this right here I'm going to have x squared. So 28 times 9 is 252 x squared. So I could have just asked you what's the coefficient of x squared, or I could ask you what the term is with x squared. So as you go through your homework, just think about the patterns, what you can do with powers of x's, and again that relationship between the combinations and those exponents.